taught the course before, he had a grand plan that we were all going to stage a medieval religious play at the end of the semester. We spent the first part of the term doing more traditional textual analysis, and then we broke up into teams to put on the production. I landed in a group tasked with translating the Middle English of the Wakefield Noah play into a modern idiom, but other students were working on props, making directorial decisions, and even building an actual pageant wagon for us to perform upon. For me, the biggest surprise of the semester was the director's decision to cast me as Noah himself. I had no acting experience whatsoever, but I relished the role and had a lot of fun. I also acquired a much deeper understanding of drama, both medieval and modern. Chris's pedagogical experiment had worked, and the experience taught us more than any other approach to the subject could have. Before I graduated, I took many courses with Chris, talked with him over lunches, and learned much from his example. When I told him I wanted to go to graduate school for medieval literature, he gave me some sage advice about the realities of an academic career, and then worked his hardest to help me get into a good program. One evening, before I left to begin my PhD program at the University of Connecticut, I had dinner with Chris and asked why he had helped me so much during my time as a student. Was there any way, I wondered, that I could repay him for his teaching and his kindness? He simply said that he hoped I would do the same for a student if I were ever in a position similar to his. I told him I would, and it is not an exaggeration to say that this promise is the foundation on which I have built my career. We know a great deal about the kind of transformative teaching practiced by instructors like Chris Fee. Thousands of books and articles have been published over the last few decades that have clarified for us the techniques we can use in the classroom to help students learn more successfully. Remarkably, some of these studies actually agree with each other. They point to many of the practices that I saw modeled in Chris's courses and that you'll be hearing about in this book. For example, the experiential nature of the medieval drama course has been shown to help students make great strides in their learning. Similarly, Chris's engagement and connection with students, as well as his well-crafted discussions, are strategies backed by a wealth of evidence supporting their efficacy. We even know to a significant degree how these kinds of effective teaching methods work. From inquiry-based approaches to educational games and beyond, there are handbooks and other published guides to help us learn, step by step, how to implement these techniques in our classes. While I have found all of this work extremely valuable, both as a faculty member and as someone who works with instructors on university-wide teaching initiatives, something still continues to gnaw at me. It is one thing to have evidence that a strategy works, but it is another thing entirely to know why students learn more when certain techniques are used over others. What is it about the fundamental way human beings learn that makes some teaching strategies successful and others fall short? I wrote this book because I wanted to dip below the surface of educational research to explore these bigger questions that we often assume we have already answered. As I discovered, we may have been assuming too much in this regard. Before I began my research, I thought these answers would be easy to find, but this proved not to be the case. Pieces of the puzzle were isolated in fields that do not talk to each other very often, and even once I had located some of them, the picture was still less than complete. I had to dig into subfields of subfields that I wasn't aware of prior to embarking on this roller coaster ride. What you are hearing now is a synthesis of all that I discovered throughout what has been for me a truly wondrous process. To be sure, there has been work, even very recently, that has explored the learning processes of students as well as the ways in which instructors can maximize learning by employing evidence-based strategies in the classroom. Some researchers have looked very carefully at the